What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever time it is that you are checking out today's very first episode of Fantasy Football Friendly. That's right. Training camps have started, so we have football that we got to talk about. Make sure that you guys like the content, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share the content, drop a comment down below. All right. So in that exact order, like, subscribe, share the content with all your friends and family, with all of your league mates, and then most importantly, drop a comment down below. First, I want to shout out my co-producer, Drop the Mic FF. He's the one that is doing the graphics and also kind of dictating the order in which these episodes get released. If this is your first time catching Fantasy Football Friendly, the way that this show essentially works is we go by team from a fantasy football aspect with a little bit of an NFL twist as well, taking a look at each team, at players individually that may or may not make your fantasy football roster, that you may or may not should go after. All right. So we're going to be talking about guys I definitely want you to go after, pause, and then also guys that I maybe feel like you should probably fade a little bit. All righty. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Today, you guys already saw the thumbnail. We are talking about the Detroit Lions, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. We are talking about the Detroit Lions here on Fantasy Football Friendly to kick things off for the fantasy football season. You're probably getting ready to enter some drafts, so we got to get you right. Give me just 1 second. Like the content, share the content. We're always going to start off each episode, for the most part. Some of these episodes may be longer than others. Some of these episodes may be shorter than others. So all going to depend on what the team has to offer for me to talk about. We're going to start this one off at the quarterback position, of course. And we're going to start talking about no other than Jared Goff. All right, Jared Goff, QB 12. Depending on where you look and depending on who you ask. All right. I know some folks that are going as high as, depending on which website that you look at, depending on, which pundits in the industry that you may or may not ask. From a fantasy football standpoint, you're going to see Jared Goff maybe go as high as like QB7 in your leagues, maybe as low as like QB 14 in your leagues. It all depends on the circle of which you're drafting in, of course, with any of these players that we discussed throughout this 32-part series. Me personally, I feel more comfortable maybe around that QB 11-ish, QB 12 range, where you'll see for the most part consensus will have him as QB 12. Jared Goff to me is an amazing QB2 candidate. Okay. Jared Goff to me is a great two QB candidate. About a month ago, I did a fantasy draft that had featured, a lot of different fantasy minds. Pat Fitz was in there. Marcus Grant was in there. G-Man J was in there. Just a lot of different guys. A lot of different guys and girls across the league. And me personally, I went ahead and I took Jared Goff as my second QB in that mock draft at 3.3. All right. When I take a look at, the homies over at Club Fantasy and what they did with in their QB draft, let's see here, in their 2 QB draft, Jared Goff went 3.11. So we're looking at about a 3rd round value on Jared Goff. I am personally high on Jared Goff. I like Jared Goff in kind of like a Jaden Daniels Goff type of build situation. That classic rookie to go with the veteran type of situation. So like I said, solid QB2. Over the last 2 years, Goff has averaged 265.1 passing yards and 1.7 TD touchdown passes a game. All right. No, you're not going to get that Konami code running out of Goff, but he's in simpatico. with the receiver that we're going to talk about. And it's kind of equitable to where you can actually maybe even stack those guys in 2 QB formats. I'm willing to go out there and grab Goff. You could even go like a Goff and a Stafford, QB2, QB2, QB2 type of build. Maybe let's say you go Jefferson, Tyreek Hill. You still need 2 QBs. All right, fine. 3rd and 4th round, I go, QB, something like that. You're getting Goff around the same time as where about you may be getting a Jordan Love, a Jaden Daniels, a Tua, Brock Purdy, guys of that nature. So that's the tier that we're looking at when we talk about Jared Goff and where he ranks around amongst the QBs. I want to keep this moving. I want to keep this pressing. I want to talk about the running backs. All right. Detroit's an interesting offense because they have 2 running backs. All right. They have 2 running backs. Both are great fantasy values. Both you definitely want to have on your fantasy roster. The problem is value here with these guys and at this position. Okay. You're going to notice that Detroit has a lot of fairly high value first 5 round type of guys that you could go out there and you can build around. All right. Jahmyr Gibbs is one of them. You're looking at about a 2nd round value. Looking at Club Fantasy. Shout out to the homie Gator over there. Shout out to the homie Hoove over there. Gibbs went 2.6 in a mock of theirs. That mock that I was talking about recently, that I was a part of. Let's see here. Gibbs went 212. So on that turn to the first pick, and that was MG Marcus Grant who was able to grab Gibbs. He started off at the 101, grabbing Hurts, had to wait a whole another round to pick, was able to grab Gibbs. That's good. That's really good stuff right there. I like that. Gibbs is going to be coming off the board at RB4. If you're grabbing Jahmyr Gibbs, you're pretty much saying to yourself, I'm willing to go RB heavy, or I'm willing to go, hero RB, as many people like to call it. All right. Gibbs had an amazing season last year, had an amazing year last year. Finished the season as RB8 in fantasy points per game and fantasy points per opportunity. All right. Just absolutely phenomenal. Ranked 18th in yards after contact per attempt and 11th in missed tackles, force per attempt per fantasy points data. But ultimately, he really took over towards the later half of the season. Still got to fight with the other guy that we're going to talk about. They're still both going to split carries. But with this offense and with Dan Campbell as head coach, and we know how he likes to go for it on 4th down, all of these guys become fantasy football friendly because they're always given that extra opportunity, give or take, however you want to look at that very volatile of a situation. This team can support Jared Goff could end QB7. We could be looking at Gibbs ending somewhere. We could see him ending definitely top 5 running backs, probably. You could see Monty possibly, ending top 24, top 20 even. It's this offense is going to be able to support all these guys ending in top positions. This offense is super fantasy football friendly. So anything that I do bring up about, okay, well, hey, ranking 18th in yards after contact and 11th in missed tackles, force per attempt, don't let those things kind of shy you away. What I would worry about with Gibbs is, okay, that value may be a little bit high. Maybe I go somewhere else and look at it like a different offense like Green Bay. Maybe I wait 2 rounds later and I grab like a Josh Jacobs. It's all going to depend on your strategy heading into the draft. I'm just here to let you know, if you're going to be going after Gibbs, you're going to be grabbing him in the second round in 2 QB formats. Next, I want to talk about their second running back. We're going to keep it in the backfield. We are going to keep it in the backfield here on this one. And we are going to talk about David Montgomery. All right, we are going to talk about Monty. Monty, RB18. I get for some, this may not be, the sexiest pick. When you're heading into drafts, you're like, oh, man, when we're talking about the Detroit Lions just as a whole, well, obviously you're going to much rather want to go and get Gibbs. If your strategy is to maybe wait on running back, if your strategy is to, maybe it's not to go and get a running back in rounds 1 or 2, hell, maybe even third round, you're not even worried about a running back yet. Monty's not a bad guy to kind of start building your running back room around. 8th round, you could go out there and get Monty. 8th round. 8th round, people. 7th round. 7th to 8th round is depending on how your league is set up and how he's being valued. That's actually pretty damn solid. Okay, so 7th, heading into, so around Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift area. If that's who you're trying to maybe make a lead back for your fantasy football team, maybe running backs aren't super highly valued for your league, or maybe it's your league's points are more so leaning towards red zone carries and opportunities, and then maybe the value's more so towards touchdowns. However the hell your commissioner may have it set up, it's not bad. Maybe Montgomery ends up being your RB2, and let's say you end up with like Pacheco, or Joe Mixon as your RB1. Like, this isn't a bad kind of starting point if you want to go late RB, maybe wait a little bit. This isn't a bad starting point at all. Grabbing Monty and maybe, having him as like an RB2, super fringe RB1, so on and so forth. Plus, guys, Monty's a run boy. Of course, I'm going to, maybe embellish a little bit, boost up his value. Know the guy, super hard worker, while everyone else was out going crazy, living it up. Hey, we all just got drafted. Da, 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 da. We were there to interview the athletes while we're coming back, from partying and everything, enjoying the Los Angeles nightlife. Monty was still in the gym putting in the damn work. All right. He was in there crushing the weights. All right. So obviously I'm gonna brag and boast a little bit about Monty. Even as RB15 in fantasy, he managed a second 1,000-yard rushing season in his NFL career. All right. Look, if you can get a 1,000-yard rushing season while also having to have Jahmyr Gibbs ahead of you, I absolutely love it. Let's see here. Something else that I actually wanted to highlight here. With Monty, it'll probably be the early down hammer. 19th in missed tackles forced per attempt per fantasy points data. He'll definitely be involved in the red zone. Last season, he was 15th in carries and 5th in red zone touches as he toted the rock and scored 13 touchdowns, 4th most. I love that. I love that. With this Detroit Lions offense, if you miss out on one of the two RBs, make sure. I feel like you should just grab one of these. You should either grab Gibbs or Monty. If you grab Gibbs, cool. You don't got to worry about grabbing Monty. If you miss out on Gibbs, there's no reason to hone in on Monty and be like, all right, later rounds, I know that that's when I need to go and get a running back. I'll build my receivers and my quarterbacks here. I'll build my tight ends here. I know 6th, 7th, 8th round. That's when I'm thinking about really building a solid running back room week to week that I can maybe interchange out, depending matchup dependent, so on and so forth. All right, so Monty, we tackled Monty. This is a player that we're going to talk about next. This is a player that I am super impressed by, and became even more impressed after watching Netflix Receiver. All right, shout out to Omaha Productions, Peyton and the boys. You did an amazing job. Y'all did damn good work on that special. Amon rah rah rah, ooh la 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 la. Stuck in a good offense. We used to say he was stuck in a bad offense. Stuck in a good offense. Him and Jared Goff have chemistry. It is great the way that this man is putting on for the city of Detroit. He's really embraced the city of Detroit. Dude, wide receiver 5 is what consensus is saying. Like, I think like the worst that somebody had ranked Amon in their rankings was like wide receiver 8. All right. Look, do your thing. Do your thing. I could never. That's absolutely crazy to me. Wide receiver 5 is perfect. Perfect for Amon-Ra St. Brown. The man wrote down his goals to have 1,500 yards, 15-15, 10 touchdowns. The man's work ethic. The man's work ethic. Look, Amon-Ra, here's another thing that can piss you off. You don't even care about fantasy football. Fantasy football has you as wide receiver 5. And I know that you feel like you're the best damn wide receiver in the league, Amon-Ra. So prove people wrong. Prove people wrong. Like, wide receiver 5 in fantasy is not bad by any means. Let's just make sure that we put that out there into the echoes. All right? Not bad at all. You want another chip on your shoulder, Amon? Here's another one. Here's another one. Pundits think that you're wide receiver 5 fantasy overall. Go out there and be wide receiver 1. I am all in on getting Amon-Ra whenever, wherever, however I can. And what's so great is that it is equitable. You can possibly end up with Amon and Goff to stack. You can possibly stack those two. It is very easy to go Amon-Ra within the first 2 rounds and then go and then turn back around next round and grab Jared Goff. There's nothing wrong with walking in week 1 of fantasy football with basically that whoop, whoop, whoop. Mario eat the mushroom, grow big, because you got a stack of Amon-Ra and Jared Goff. Super equitable to be able to go out there and accomplish in pretty much damn near every single fantasy football format. I know in best ball I have a shit ton of Goff and Amon-Ra stats. This is one that I highly, highly endorse. This is a stack that I highly, highly endorse. There's nothing else to say. Look, if you're building through the wide receivers, you better go and get you some Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's Amon-Ra in one mock from the homies over at Club Fantasy. Shout out to the homie Gator for sending this over to me. Looks like this is one that Hoove was hosting. It literally went, all right, in the 2nd round. All right. It literally, these are all receivers back to back from 11, 10, 9, 8, so on. You know what I mean? Amon goes to 8, goes to the 8th pick in the 2nd round. These are the receivers that went before him. Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Jamar Chase. The ones that went in the first round, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb. Get a little too excited when I talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown. After Amon is Puka Nacua. I can't get enough of gassing up Amon, the sun god. Yes, that's all I can say. All I can say is yes. You're gonna go and get Amon-Ra St. Brown at any and all costs. Next, we're gonna talk about the tight end. All right, and then we're gonna talk about the wide receiver 2 after that. Sam Laporta. Last year was what first year, his rookie year. We ain't never seen no shit like that ever in our lives. I'll be honest. Like, we're already talking about Laporta, tight end 1. 86 receptions on 120 targets, 889 yards, 10.3 yards per reception, 10 touchdowns. The dude was a rock star and is a rock star in Detroit now. I don't know if he attended tight end U, but if he attended tight end U and picked up a few extra pointers from Kelsey and Kittle and the boys, he about to go out there and tear Detroit up even more. Everyone's saying he's tight end 1 now. Everyone's saying he's tight end 1. Depending on where you look, he may be tight end 2. Point being is, I did not think that we were ready to enter an era to where Kelsey and Kittle were going to be the ones that we're talking about as tight ends 2 and 3 and, so on and so forth. Sam Laporta, he's the guy now. This Detroit offense is scary, especially through the air. Goff is a damn good QB, a competent QB. Dan Campbell trusts these guys. You need to go out there and get you some Sam Laporta. Now, that's if you're willing to pay that price. Me personally, my portfolio does not have a whole lot of Sam. I have Sam Laporta. I'm going to have rostership of damn near every player that I'm going to talk about throughout all 32 episodes of Fantasy Friendly. I am not a early tight end type of guy. That's just never been my playing style. If that's your playing style, if bully tight end's your playing style, this is absolutely who you go for. If you're able to pull it off and you're able to get him, are you gonna sacrifice positional value elsewhere by going and getting Laporta? Yes. Yes. How you approach getting Sam Laporta is dependent upon your league scoring settings. If there's a tight end premium, fuck it, I'm going to get Sam Laporta. If there's no tight end premium, maybe you don't have to do that. Maybe you can wait on like a Dalton Schultz later on. Just saying. But he's tight end 1. He's tight end 1. Especially for all of you bully tight end folks out there. Next up, probably throughout the duration of this episode, probably been asking like who the wide receiver 1 in Detroit is. I think that fantasy football aside, even Detroit Lions fans ask themselves the same thing. Okay, in regards to the wide receiver 2 for Detroit. Last season, it was weird because you were probably finding yourself plugging in God knows what for whoever as the 2. Who knows? You were whenever J-Mo came back from suspension, and it was like, okay, well now I'm gonna trust J-Mo, but then like that was kind of like a weird thing how that worked out. He showed flashes and big playability. Eh, eh, you know what? They still got Khalif Raymond. Like the depth chart outside of Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta basically is the wide receiver 2 for this team. But for the sake of depth, could it be Donovan Peoples-Jones? Could it be, Khalif Raymond is still there. Brock Wright is there. The way that I see the wide receiver 2 kind of realistically shaping out is it's going to be any man's game for targets. Anyone that's not named Amon-Ra St. Brown, anyone that's not named Sam Laporta, they're all from a week-to-week basis. I feel like going to have to scrap for their targets. Now, if we want to indulge ourselves in coach speak, it is sounding like that Jameson Williams at wide receiver 49 per consensus is going to be that guy, is going to be that 2. How that's going to work out is going to be super interesting. I don't know if it's something that has fully came into fruition yet. 12 games, 24 receptions, 42 targets, 354 yards. Had 2 TDs. It was okay. It's okay. Looked like they tried to, maybe sprinkle in a couple of, rushing attempts there. Not sure if this was maybe utilizing like a jet sweep kind of, role, like a Debo-esque, which would be great for Williams with his speed. He had 3 attempts, 29 yards, 9.7 yards per attempt. So he had a rushing TD. So depending on how much more work they get him involved over the course of a whole season is going to be interesting. It sounds like that Dan Campbell wants the media to believe that Jameson Williams is going to have a bigger role. I would expect that he's going to have a bigger role. Rookie year, hindered with injury. Second season, sophomore season in the NFL. I had to deal with the whole suspension thing, with the gambling. Jameson Williams, hopefully you're betting on yourself this year and yourself only, mentally up here, and you go out there and be the offensive weapon that we all thought that you could be. I do believe that Jameson Williams can bounce back. I could see him maybe ending top 35. I'm not giving a big jump from wide receiver 49. I'm not, actually that is a pretty fucking big jump. That is a pretty big leap. That is for me. That's at best. That he's gonna have to play a full season though in order to get within that top 35 range. But other than that, this team loves to pass the ball around. This Detroit Lions team loves to move the rock around. So fighting for targets as a 2 on this offense is gonna be a tough job. It's gonna be a tough task, especially when it's like, well, you got perennial superstar talent in Amon and Laporta. Can target Amon like 8 times a game. Can target Laporta about maybe 5-6 times a game. And then really just a lot of that can kind of get utilized up for, within the backfield. Only got it's 4 quarters of football. There's only 1 football. So wide receiver 2 in this offense, not as friendly. I kind of shy away from anything outside of the main core pieces here. There's other offenses that I feel like will be more potent for my depth, whether, I begin looking at bench or flex pieces for my team. whenever we start looking at 2s and 3s in terms of anything outside of a wide receiver 1. So that's my take on who's going to be the wide receiver 2 for the Detroit Lions. It doesn't look good in terms of how fantasy football friendly this team is, because it kind of being murky as to like who would be outside of Laporta and outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. This team probably could have gotten an A. Okay, this team probably could have gotten an A. I am gonna go ahead and give them a B+. All right, we're gonna start off fantasy football friendly with a really damn good grade. I love everything about this team, from offensive schematics. You're still bringing back the exact same offensive play callers, so I love that. Offensive pieces, you're gonna have to try and find value where you can with this team. Probably the best value that you're gonna get is maybe David Montgomery, because other pieces you are gonna have to reach. Well, the quarterback situation is super equitable in 2 QB formats here. And then also the RB2 situation here is super equitable. I do like the ability with this offense for you to be able to stack Goff and Amon-Ra. Just know that, hey, you are going to be spending second round, maybe even late first round value on Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's just the way that things have been shaking out, especially after the release of receiver and the more and more people that continue to watch that. I'm sure they're just going to keep shooting up people's draft boards. If you're drafting in the same draft with a Detroit Lion fan in a 2 QB league, Amon-Ra St. Brown might even be the first fucking pick off the board for that guy. Straight up. These things happen in live draft environments. Other than that, B+ for the Detroit Lions offense. Super interested to see how things shake out for them to to find a stable wide receiver 2 throughout the duration of the season. But other than that, I love every single thing about this offense. B+, ladies and gentlemen. Detroit Lions. Like, comment, subscribe. We greatly appreciate it. Cheers to me. Cheers to you. All the Rumboyz and girls. What it do. Dilly, y'all.
Holy shit.